Breaking man news. Breaking news. Video games are bad for you. Another study. This time it's not about violence in video games, though. The correlation. It's something different. That was a really sloppy intro, but I'm still going to go with it.
I just wanted some sauce on those zingers.
Hello, everybody. Happy Snowed In Sunday. I hope you're having a good weekend. I am snowed in. I have a feeling this winter is going to be like the winter of 2015, where it snowed like every other day. Couple shameless plugs. First and foremost, make sure you subscribe to Review Tech USA. I upload content here on pretty much a regular basis, and I stream on a fairly regular basis as well. Also, leave a like and a comment. It helps out in the algorithm. And make sure to check out my ASMR channel called Tech 25 ASMR. I got plenty of new projects coming up there this year. I haven't uploaded in a bit there, but there's also a ton of content posted already. So make sure you sub to Tech 25 ASMR. I'll have links to everything I mentioned below in the description and top pinned comment. So I feel like one of the mainstays of me covering tech news and gaming news and political news is the correlation to video games and making people in the real world violent. So if someone plays Grand Theft Auto, was always the go-to because it's Grand Theft Auto, it's insanely popular, and oh my god, you could go after citizens.
Rich! You are uncreative and lack size and girth in important areas. There's only mushroom.
And there's plenty of other games out there that are actually more violent, in my opinion, than Grand Theft Auto. But nonetheless, it's been something that's gone on forever. You have a lot of politicians that always cling to video game violence causing real world violence because they don't want to talk about doing any more regulations with guns. So that's the scapegoat. And they know that the boomer audiences that listen to them or the boomer voters that voted for them don't know any better, and they don't know the research. And they're just like, oh yeah, you know, it has to be video games. There's guns in there. Obviously, that's what it must be. But there's been study after study after study throughout the years that had, with huge sample sizes too, like 10,000 plus people that they followed for years upon years to see who were gamers. I hate that word still to this day, but who played video games. And there was no correlation. They couldn't. At best, some of the studies would say it's inconclusive. And that's the most damning studies, where it's like, okay, it's inconclusive, so maybe video games do cause violence. That's the worst you could find. And here's some other examples, too, when it comes to all the studies. Key findings in research. There's no causal link to violence. The American Psychological Association, APA, has stated attributing real-world violence to video games is not scientifically supported, calling it a disservice to policymakers and the public. And here's something that no politician in the States is going to show you. International comparisons. Countries like Japan and South Korea have high video game usage, but significantly lower rates of gun violence compared to the US, challenging the video game violence link. But your favorite politician who uses video games as a scapegoat will never tell you that. Now, of course, I'm sure I will see arguments, but they have different genres of games they prefer than people in the States. The people in the States prefer more first-person shooters. And yes, there is some truth to that, as you're seeing here. RPGs, which I think we all assumed, are the most popular game in Japan, and in the States it is, guess what, shooters. So fine, I know some people will lean into that, but I have some of the OGs here from my original channel will tell you I have covered this since 2014, and there have been studies of people who only played games like Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duties, and they said, yeah, no, there's still no evidence at best, it's inconclusive, like I said, that video games cause people to be violent in the real world. There's one researcher who said, to say video games cause people to be violent is like saying that people wear socks. Everyone who committed a violent crime wore socks. So obviously socks are the reason why they committed violence. They said that's the closest correlation you could get with video games. So take that in and chew on it, politicians who want to use video games as an excuse. Well, this study is actually interesting because it's not talking about video game violence. That's been, no pun intended, done to death. This is talking about how video games can make you depressed, affect your mental health, affect your diet, make you overeat, things like that. I have something at the end to say, which is a hot take. It's just me giving an opinion, but nonetheless, this is an interesting article. This comes from GameSpot.com. I'll read you a portion, then we'll discuss. In a new study published in Science Direct's Nutrition Journal and reported by Medical Express, 10 different researchers from around the world investigated the effects of, quote, excessive gaming, unquote, has on young people. Led by Professor Mario Servio of the Curtin School of Population Health in Perth, Western Australia, and surveying 370 students, not the biggest sample I've seen, but anyway, continuing, from 5 Australian universities with a median age of 20 years old. The study found that high gamers, people whose playtime exceeded 10 hours a week, were at a greater risk of dietary issues, sleep deprivation, and weight gain. Here's another interesting piece of info here. Alongside, quote, high gamers, unquote, 10 plus hours a week, which actually I'm surprised it's that low. I thought they would have to be like 20, but okay, this is what they went with. The researchers split the participants into low gamers, 0 to 5 hours per week, and moderate gamers, 5 to 10 hours, depending on the self-reported amount of time they spent playing video games. In these categories, the researchers found that high gamers experienced a decline in diet quality because they're too focused on the game. There's a new release. They're going to get whatever bagged crap they could get and heavily sugary processed drinks they could get. And there you go. Boom. I've known plenty of, they call it the freshman 15 for a reason. And an increase in obesity when compared to low and moderate gamers because you're not sitting in front of a screen. I feel like this could apply for anyone who's depressed or anyone who does anything where they're sedentary. But okay. They're talking about gaming here. For example, according to the study, high gamers had a median body mass index, BMI, of 26.3 kilograms, generally considered overweight, compared to 22.2 kilograms and 22.8 kilograms, generally considered normal and healthy weight ranges for low and moderate gamers, because you're not sitting down and playing a game as much. That if you're gaming a lot, you're not moving unless you're just rocking the Meta Quest or something like that. Additionally, while all three groups generally reported poor sleep quality, moderate and high gamers scored worse here than low gamers, with their hours spent gaming being a significant disruptor to the quality of their sleep. Which, again, if you stay up late watching TV, you're not going to get as much sleep. If you stay up late playing Elden Ring, Call of Duty, whatever, Lies of P, Stroke the Horse. Yes, that's actually a game that you could buy on PlayStation right now. I don't know why. It's really terrible. But whatever. Maybe you're a big Stroke the Horse fan and you play it till the wee hours of the morning. Of course it's going to screw up your sleep. If you're up watching reality TV shows till 3 a.m, it's going to screw up your sleep. If you're playing some free-to-play game like Lauren does of like Candy Crush or whatever stupid puzzle game that she plays, yeah, it's going to affect your sleep. You know, and as a person who's dealt with depression and anxiety, and I've lost a bunch of weight in the past 6 to 8 months, but obesity, still obese, I get it. It's just a depression thing. You know, I always talked about how Halo 3 got me through a really like dark place when I'm back in the late 2000s. Halo, and yeah, I was going through it, man. So I didn't want to do anything except maybe and there's times I was too depressed to even play a game. So could this be, as a person who's, you know, played games since I've been literally 3 years old, and a person who also suffers from anxiety and depression, could it be maybe that it's not the games making them gain weight and, you know, not move as much and be depressed, but they're already depressed anyway and going through those things and going through where they're maybe partying and gaining the freshman 15 because they talk about, you know, eating habits here, but they're already depressed. Maybe they're depressed because it's the first time moving away from home and going to college. And so they resort to video games due to the depression. And it's not necessarily the heavy gamers, a whopping 10 hours a week, because they're heavy gamers. It's not necessarily the games making them depressed. You understand what I'm saying? They may be gaming because they're depressed, and not that everyone just who's depressed is gaming. But They're already depressed, so they're going to the video games. It's not the video games and them being sedentary playing the video games that's making them depressed, even though getting around and moving does help with your anxiety and depression. Trust me, I know. So as a person who's lost over 100 pounds at this point, it's not always what you're doing that makes you depressed, that makes you overeat, is that you go to those things because you're depressed, because you're overeating. So when you gain more than you usually do, maybe you're going through something. Maybe you broke up with a significant other. Maybe there's something else. And so you retreat to gaming. And I think this study needed to do that more. And I think it kind of misses out on that, where sometimes people go to, maybe you'll sit down and watch TV all day, or you'll sit and when you're depressed and watch, ESPN all day. I know some people that actually do that. And maybe if you did the studies like this on those people, you'd be like, oh, because they're watching ESPN excessively, they're depressed. When the reason why they can't move out of their chair and they're watching ESPN all day is because they're depressed. So the source of the depression isn't the entertainment that they're consuming. The source of the depression is them, and they're escaping to that entertainment more than they usually would. I think I actually said that really well. This is Rich of Review Tech USA signing out. Have a good one. The bottom line is everything in moderation. It took me till the age of 44 to learn that, so I'm not speaking from a soapbox.